In Databricks and Spark, when it comes to analyzing the Spark SQL query performance issues, what is your preferred tool? Spark UI, isn't it? Hello again and welcome back. Spark UI is essentially your window into what is really happening inside a Spark application. And it is a multi-purpose tool. You can use it to monitor a running job, investigate failed jobs, analyze execution plans, understand task distribution and data skew, inspect executor resource utilization, and investigate performance problems. Given the wide range of capabilities that the Spark UI offers, the focus of my series, Spark UI Essentials, is quite specific. That is, analyzing Spark SQL query performance. More specifically, I want to help you develop the skills needed to understand moderately complex job DAGs and SQL DAGs, physical query plans, different join strategies, and how these elements help us understand Spark SQL query performance. And ultimately, I want to take you to the point where you can comfortably read and interpret moderately complex SQL DAGs, such as the ones generated when dealing with data skew. Where are we heading? If you look at the indicative list of chapters in this series, you will see that the final chapters focus on data skew. Yeah, here they are. In those demos, we will look at Spark SQL queries both before and after applying salting techniques. I will demonstrate how to identify data skew from the Spark UI and understand how that skew affects execution. Also, I will demonstrate how to address the problem using salting techniques. And we won't stop at just one salting technique. We will look at examples of salting every key as well as salting hotkeys only. For each of these examples, I will walk you through the corresponding SQL DAGs and show you what has changed, and more importantly, why it has changed. This is really the destination of this series. There is a catch. I don't want to assume that you already have all the necessary knowledge of the underlying concepts. So rather than jumping straight into complex looking DAGs, I'm going to take a concept first, demo driven approach. I will first explain the essential concepts and then reinforce that understanding with hands-on demonstrations in Spark UI. Some of the key concepts we will cover include narrow and wide transformations, shuffle, query plans and join strategies, and adaptive query execution, AQE. For each of these concepts, I will first walk you through the theory and then use practical examples to show you what that concept actually looks like in Spark UI. The idea is not simply to memorize what these concepts mean. It is to understand how they manifest themselves in, in the Spark UI. If you are already comfortable with these Spark concepts, you certainly don't have to go through every chapter. Feel free to skip the earlier chapters or watch only the chapters that cover the concepts you want to refresh before jumping into the data skewed demonstrations. So, what kind of SQL DAGs are we going to look at? Here is a sneak peek. I have example SQL DAGs, a couple of them on this page and another couple of them on the next page. What you see on the current page are simple examples of narrow transformation and another simple example of white transformation. In the white transformation, you will see two DAGs, one with the AQE disabled and another with the AQE enabled. Here are a couple of SQL DAGs for data skew scenarios. In my view, these two DAGs that you see on the screen are only moderately complex. Real-world Spark applications can obviously generate DAGs that are much more complex than these. And that is not really the point of this series. The purpose of this series is to help you build a solid foundation for reading and understanding Spark DAGs so that when you encounter more complex DAGs in real world applications, you have the knowledge and confidence to start making sense of them. Who is this series for? If you already use Databricks, you have probably seen the Spark UI. But here is the question. Do you really understand what you are looking at in Spark UI? If your answer is no, you certainly aren't alone. And even if your answer is yes, perhaps you would like to consolidate your understanding of Spark UI, particularly SQL DAGs, physical query plans, join strategies, and the way they relate to query performance. If that sounds like you, then stay with me on this Spark UI Essentials journey. Alongside my video series, I will also publish supporting blog posts. I will provide the link to the relevant blog post in the video description. And where applicable, I will also provide the GitHub repository containing the code and examples used in this demo. And finally, what if you don't have access to a Databricks Premium workspace? No worries at all. The video demonstrations are designed to help you understand the concepts and follow along even if you don't have access to the environment. Of course, there is no substitute for hands-on practice. So if you do have access to your own Databricks Premium workspace and want to reproduce the examples, here I am sharing the cluster settings that I used for my demonstrations. That way, you can set up a similar environment and experiment with the examples yourself. So, with that, let us get started with Spark UI Essentials.